Yo, what up, everybody? We are back. Welcome to the Bros
yo,
to
yo,
Man
yo,
podcast.
Yes, sir.
Bros to Man.
It's your boy Roy Red. We got
Jeff Osborne, a.k.a. J.O.
Yeah, Cameron Prasad, aka Cam.
and today we just kind of wanted to lay the groundwork for the podcast and talk about why we want to start this podcast. The first episode was just a Pop the Trunk production. We just came in and was just talking about whatever. We just felt, God just put something in our heart to share our experiences, share our knowledge, and then also in that sharing, we're gonna also learn so much as we grow with you guys. So, man, I just started off, Jeff, bros. When y'all think of Bros to Man, what do y'all think of? What comes in your heart and what comes to your mind?
Cam, why don't you take that? Because you the one who came up with the title of
You
it,
came with
bro.
the title, though.
Man, like the word journey comes to mind. And I think me personally, I'm in a point in my life where I've been doing a lot of reflecting as of the recent. And, and I think back to like when we met, we're talking like 2000.
Oh, bro,
We were in what, 7th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's what, like 99, 2000 area,
Yep,
somewhere
yep,
around
yep.
there, right? So, when I think about the people that were in my life at that time, and all the people we've met throughout the years of traveling and socializing, and with whether it's work or personal, and then think who's still here today, bro, the list is short. The list is short. Definitely you two, several others, but it's a small circle.
Yep.
And what I love the most about that though was the journey that we went through from literally bro, so that's my bro, to now being men holding each other accountable in life and in our careers and calling each other out on our flaws and pushing each other in moments of weakness. But that's because of my mind. I mean, what do you think when you hear the term?
Yeah, it was crazy when you came up and you told me the name, and we were all in the thread, and it was like, yo, Bros to Men.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, I like that. That's
There
oily
it-
right there. You know
there
what
it
I'm saying?
is.
That's oily. Like, that's nice.
Yeah.
And I think it's when we started looking at the graphic and the pictures, and you see us all up there in suits, and then you see us here, and we're talking a certain way. But the reality is the transition from bros to men was ugly. Like transition, transition is ugly. And so when we talk about Bros to Men and the journey of it, now it's beautiful. But man, we had some rough moments in our transition. And I think the most beautiful thing out of all of it was, in the book 3 Feet from Gold, they talk about in the business sense, Napoleon Hill and what they have, but he talks about stickability. And stickability is the ability to stick with something even though you're not seeing the result you want to see, even though it's not sexy, even though, you know what I'm saying?
Like,
you
don't feel good.
Yeah, you ain't in your finished product,
It ain't
right?
comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think just when I think about us and I think about our journey or what makes, transition or even brotherhood or sisterhood or wherever you're at, what makes it what it is that you have to understand that the journey is ugly to get to the beauty, and you hear all that cliche stuff. But when I think about our journey, I see us just rough, like rugged.
Yeah.
And now we being polished, in that process.
What do you think, Dips? Like when you hear
Well, let's go to the start, because I tell people the story about how I met Jeff, and they never believe me. I went to Morningside in Inglewood, which was considered the hood, and then I came to the burbs. I came to Chino. So you come into the burbs, you I'm that dude, because I came from a rough situation. I'm gonna be the dude that's the freshest, the most.
he thought it was a new fresh guy on campus.
You know what I'm saying?
Little
I'm
did
the
you
new
know.
guy. You know what I mean? I'm playing basketball. I'm killing everybody on the team. I'm like, they weak.
They weak.
You know what I'm saying? I'm walking through the hallways, and then I hear what's good? And I see somebody with some braids. I'm like,
I'm
Hey,
not
what's
about the
going
cornrows,
on,
bro.
bro?
He had the
What's going
Omarion's.
And he was like bow-legged, but with the swag though. I was like, yo, who that? And I think he had on some Vans, but he was just clean. And like I just get like it was automatic, and I don't want to say hate, but it was automatic jealousy, like, who that?
Yeah.
And I just kind of, and we had the same friends and we never talked to each other. I
Yeah.
think like at least a month went by, we never talked. We just looked at each other with this mean look.
Yeah.
And then one day, I don't even know what happened. We were at the table, and he's sitting there, and I'm sitting. No, we weren't even sitting there yet. I walk up to the table, and he's walking up to the table at the same time. And I promise you, we looked each other in the eyes and just hugged.
Yeah.
Bromance.
That's how we met. That's how we met.
It was like, yo, what up, G? What up, man? We came in and we
here, bro.
dapped it
Come
up
here, bro.
like,
Come
yo.
here.
But it was like, do we got to fight?
Yeah.
It was like, what's up? It was like, what's up? Hug.
Yeah,
It was loud, bro.
Hey, the tension was so thick because you got two alphas.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had got kicked out of like 2 different high schools at that point. So your boy already coming in with some edge.
You're
And
right.
so I'm like, man, I got 3 months left of my senior year. I try to go back to high
Right.
school. Yeah, we were at.
Right where we were at.
Yeah.
He left me. That's how he
I was there for like 2 days, and they found out I was back there. Like, nah, you gotta go. And so when I ended up there, and I saw you, I mean, you had the J's on, you had the 13s. They were, you had the black and the neon green 13s on. You was leaned up against the wall, and I see him like, yo, what's up? You're like, what's up? And so you feel the tension, but you don't know.
What it was.
Yeah, what's gonna happen? And so, man, we end up hugging it out like, yo, what's up? Hey, well, respect. Like, and from that moment on, it was like, yo. So then I end up like, so I called Cam, and I'm like, bruh, hey, I met this dude. He was like, yeah. I said, man, we were beefing at first,
Right.
but man, like he's cut from the same cloth. Like
Yeah,
that's our
yeah.
ace. And Cam was like, y'all cool now though? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we gotta go up there and handle that, or like what we gotta do?
yeah, like, yo, we good? Like, and so we end up like, we end up getting around, and from that moment on, it was like we were connected. But
Yeah.
even going back to when I met you, I just come from, us doing a stint of us being homeless and living with Grammy in Long Beach. And so I make the transition to some city called Diamond Bar.
Right,
And I'm
right.
like, Diamond Bar? Like, who trying to,
Right.
like, who trying to move out to Diamond Bar? Like, what's
Right,
really?
right.
And so, man, like, I pull up to Diamond Bar, and sure enough, there's this cat who I see at the school, and it's beginning of 8th grade year. So it's like a couple months into our 8th grade year, and I see this dude, like, who's standing there. My man had this ponytail. My man had some clean, like, buffalinos on his feet.
Not the bee boots.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Bee
saying?
boots,
Like,
yeah.
And my man was just clean. And I was like, yo, what's up? And he was like, yo, what's up, bruh? And like instantly, we just had this connection from the
did.
8th grade. And then that transition over into high school and being where we're at. And so that moment was kind of, I met Cam first, right? You and I connected,
Right.
and then we did all the way up like years together.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all those other things.
Right,
And then
right.
Dips came in.
Right.
And then after that, it was kind of,
It was love. I remember the first time you brought Dips to the house.
yeah.
Because I was still kind of skeptical, because he came through, and JL was like, oh, this, it's my boy Roy. First was calling you Dips. I remember it's kind of like side-eyeing, bro, like, yeah, all right, we'll see what bro's about, right? But obviously, we fast forward 20 years, and you see where it's at now. But, what's crazy is, like, you mentioned something that kind of stuck out when you were telling how you met Jeff, and he brought up the word, like, competition. And it was crazy because I was thinking about that, how, in a way, our friendship and our brotherhood, there's always been this edge of like competitiveness from going to athletes, to just wanting to be successful in what we have become, or whatever endeavors we were working on at that time. And it's weird because I think we would do it subconsciously. No, we knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
I would call Jeff on purpose, like, bro, guess what I did? I just landed this. I just got promoted here. Oh, yeah, I just got the new whip, too. And Jeff was like, yeah. Oh, all right. 3 days later, J.O.'s calling me like, hey, killer. I met some folks, bro. I just landed this deal. I'm like, dang, for real? And then we grew up all in the same area, and we started sprouting out. Again, we're going on to our own personal lives and things, and then, we got this guy over here. I just copped a spot in downtown L.A., bro. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? Send me pictures, bro.
Yeah.
So
Verify.
verify. Yeah, it's not
You can't talk about a
real.
come up if it ain't
It's not
verified.
real if I don't have no flicks, bro.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, looking back at a friendship, we're talking, 2 decades here. What are some of those things that you felt kept us together over those years. Because again, there was one time where we were 4 or 5 days a week, after school hanging out. Even when we went to different high schools, we were linking up afterwards.
Yeah.
Then you fast forward, you're talking about, having businesses and having families of our own and having different responsibilities and priorities. But what is the glue in those situations? Like, what is it that keeps you grounded, you think, to like those loved ones when it's not as convenient as it once was?
I think you said it with the competition, and I hate that word gets like a negative outlook, but it's a positive thing because you are gonna live up to the expectations of your peer group.
Mm.
And so I may not talk to y'all, be around y'all for weeks, but I know you reading.
Right. There's some work going on behind the
I know
scenes.
there's work going on. And
Yeah.
so you kind of wake up with that little voice, like, get to work because they working.
Mhm.
And you don't want to get left behind in the knowledge level, in the monetary level, in any kind of level. You don't want to get left behind because, God forbid you come back and Jeff is like, yo, you read Relentless?
Right.
Like, nah, I ain't read that. You ain't read Relentless?
Yeah, what you doing? Yeah.
What you been doing for the next weeks?
Yeah.
But I think that competitiveness, that healthy competitiveness,
elevating each other,
it
pushing
elevates
each
you.
other. Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron.
But there's a fine, and here's the big difference between it. When you're running in circles with people who are there, Pops talked about it. He goes, listen, if I'm running my race, he said, picture a track. And when you're running on a track, whoever's running along with me, whether that's your spouse, whether that's somebody who's in your life, whether it's a friend, is we're running on the same track. You may not be exactly where I'm at. You may not be right on me. You may be ahead of me, but don't you dare let me lap you. So if we're running in our race, I may be a few a bit ahead of you, or you may be a few ahead of me, but one thing you're not going to do is you're not going to lap me, or I'm not going to get in a position where I'm lapping you. And the reason why that's so key is because it's showing constant movement in your relationships. And so sometimes we get stuck in these relationships that go nowhere because we're constantly lapping the people we're around because they're not moving. They're not, and it's not comparison. I think there's a comparison kills. I tell everybody, you've seen it. Yeah. Comparison kills more dreams than doubt ever did.
Yep.
Right? And so when you talk about competitiveness, or being competitive, the biggest thing about competitiveness and jealousy, it's a fine line.
Yeah. And
I think one of the things that we've always done is that we've remained competitive without allowing jealousy to creep in.
Yeah. That's it. That's
because you become jealous when you think that somebody else can have what God has originated for you. Oh, I'm gonna say that again.
Yeah.
That was oily right there.
That was oily.
When we suffer from jealousy, it's because we believe that somebody else can have what God set up for us.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
But when you realize that what God has for you is for you, you get to celebrate the wins of your brothers or the wins of your sister or the wins of your family members around you, and keep that competitive edge. That means I'm gonna be my best in this lane because it's my lane, but we both gonna be winning in our separate lanes. And I think that's what allowed us on the competitive side to understand, like, dude, you ain't gonna lap me, number one. Yeah. Like, I may not be exactly where you guys got close a couple times, but you know what I'm saying? But you ain't gonna lap me. And I think that's a big thing of being competitive. But I will say this though, is I think what's kept our relationship really intact is just sheer honesty and transparency.
Yeah. Bro, tell that story, because I remember you told it to me one time after you and Dips hung out. And you were either involved in a lifestyle or doing some things that Dips wasn't feeling, Dips wasn't agree with.
Yeah.
And you told me that he told you something that stuck with you to this day. And I think it's important because, for one, I think you have to ask yourself, when you hang out with certain individuals, what are they contributing, right? What are they bringing to your life? Yeah. I remember my Uncle Andre told me one time, I was like 17 years old. He said, I can know nothing about someone, right? He says, I can know nothing about you. Just show me your circle of friends and I'll show you and tell you who you are. I don't have to know anything about your background, what you do on a daily basis. He said, you are who you hang with and you are what you guys do every day. So when you told me what that conversation you guys had, Debs didn't even tell me. I carry it with me, like,
Yeah.
like you know, him and I had a conversation. So touch on that, man, because that was huge.
In transition, when you're transitioning with friendships, I'll put it like this. Any real friend, when it comes to them having to tell you something that is either going to help you or it's going to hurt you, they have to be willing to risk the relationship to keep it real with
Say
you.
that again, please.
Yeah.
If anybody's in your life and they're running with you, a great friend, a God friend, like a God type of friend who's supposed to be assigned to your life and in your journey, will tell you something at the expense of your relationship because they know that it may hurt you, but it's going to help you. And one of those conversations we had, I was on the phone and I was wilding. Like, y'all, I was running the streets. I was, I was involved in gangs. I was wilding. And in that moment, I always knew I had a purpose in my life, and I'll never forget the phone call. Like, y'all ghosted me. And that's a whole nother conversation. But it was a moment where I wasn't on track, and I'll never forget this phone call, Dips. And you said it to me, bruh, and it rings in my heart like never before. And I just told one of my coaching clients the same, or a young gun who just this 2 days ago. And you said to me, and I'll never forget these words. He goes, J.O., you're such a great person that there's no middle ground for you. You're either all in or you're all out. And you said it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. And so I'm waiting for the plug, like, what is he trying to say? And you said these words to me, and it rings so loud. You said, J.O., either you're going to become somebody really great in life or you're going to become nobody at all. Like,
Yeah. And this is like your brother telling you this.
this is my bro. Like, we were being reckless together. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
when did that
Getting it in.
transition? You know
What happened?
Right.
Like, when did that grow?
When did you leave me behind
Right,
in your transition?
100%, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a moment where I really believe. And then you told me, right after that, you said, man, J.O., I had a dream about you. And I had this dream that I was like climbing this mountain where I was on top of the world. And I was trying to help you out. And I heard God tell me, if you keep holding on to him, he's going to hurt you and not help you. And you'll never become who you're supposed to be if you don't let him go. So he tells me that dream, and then you make that statement, either you're going to become something great and do amazing things in your life, or you're going to become nothing at all. And it was that moment where, as my brother, you were willing to risk and sever our relationship to tell me something that would change my life. And little did I know, those would be the words that would echo in my heart and in my mind when I wanted to play small, when I wanted to give up, when I wanted to go back to my past. You guys didn't allow me to do it. So that was something that wrecked me. But here's what I want to, because I've never asked you this question in all of our years of since it happened. And then you guys can pitch in on this one too, Cam. But bro, what made you get to that point to where you had to tell me that, and what was going through your mind to let me know? Because you knew I was a hothead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Even in telling you, we might would have. we
bro, if
might
you
have
was
to
there,
get out
if you
there.
was-
We would have to get. Just like me personally, like I believe entrepreneurs are born. I wasn't a born entrepreneur. I had to. I'm becoming one and always trying to become one and be my own boss. You've always been an entrepreneur. But back then, being an entrepreneur wasn't sexy. It wasn't even a thing. If you was an entrepreneur, you sold drugs.
right,
Because you just couldn't have no job.
right.
And so it was going to be, you was going to figure out a way to make money doing what you loved, or you weren't going to do nothing because you wasn't going to go work for nobody. That's just not in you whatsoever. And it was more of my thing. And I was like, yo, he's got to figure out. And in those times, we didn't know. There was internet, but it wasn't like, we weren't thinking coaching, like, maybe
we didn't have any
speaking.
of
We
that.
didn't
figure it out.
We were just trying to figure it out. But you figured out a way to take your gifts, and you went 0 dark 30. You took it, you went away and got right.
No,
Got right.
that's real. Like I agree, and I piggyback on that just in our relationship. I remember one thing I always envied about the bro was that Jeff is the type of person that's good at everything.
Everything, bro.
Everything.
everything, bro.
Well, there's like sports, he's like naturally good at it.
Basketball,
Right.
football.
Dude start singing, you're like, bro, you can sing too? Bro. Like, the bro is just naturally good
Everything.
at everything. And I think one thing that's critical when choosing your circle is that you have to have people that see things in you that you don't see in yourself. Because your friends become such a valuable voice in your life. And I think they speak so much into you without you realizing it, that you have to have the right circle that's speaking life into you.
Yeah.
Because it's only one of two things with the circle, right? It's either the people around you are giving you life or they're taking life from you.
Yeah.
That's it. They're either leading you to your destiny and your calling, or they're pulling you away from it down somewhere you don't need to be. And I think, luckily, you know, with the help that all of us have amazing parents.
Yeah.
And I think what also contributed to that journey for us was that each of our parents took all of us as one of their kids.
As their kids, yeah.
If I was at Roy's house and he was getting cussed out by mom,
We all
Mama Roy Lee was cussing me out too. Mama Roy Lee was cussing me out too.
Yeah.
If we were at the Osbournes and Pops came in the room, I was up against the wall with the other brothers.
Yeah,
there.
we all
we
get
all
it.
got it. We all got it. It's the same with my mom, with
Yeah.
Roy, and
Yeah.
we got stories of, you know, mom kicking you out the house and you gotta go. You got, you know, that type of stuff. So it's important though, and I think it's just like those little things that you kind of have to figure out, especially during that transition in life and trying to figure out who's gonna go with you on the journey. 'Cause I think it was Nipsey that said everybody can't go.
Everybody can't
Right.
go.
Everybody can't go.
Okay, so
circle got smaller.
Right. Okay. So okay. In light of that question, in our time together, in us being bros, Cam, let me ask you this question: were there moments that we were always together? And if you are growing and you're transitioning with your friends, are there moments that you're always going to be together? Are there pockets where you're out of touch? Like,
think-
what did that look like?
I think there are pockets where you got to touch, and I think if you call yourself a bro, for example, one of my good friends, my older brother Marquette Sheridan, shout out to the bro, he told me one day, and I called him brother just because of the way we talk. I'm like, oh, bro, he stopped me, and no one's ever told me this before, and this stuck with me. He said, "There's responsibilities that come with the word bro." He says you don't call everybody just bro. If I call you a brother, there's responsibilities on my end that come along with that, and vice versa. Don't just call me bro or sis, you know, and you're not gonna do
Right.
your part of the bargain, because I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna check on you. If your family's if
Boy.
your family's down,
Yep.
I'm gonna do my part to make
Boy.
sure you guys are good, right?
Yeah.
It's not about just, oh, it's my bro, that's the bro, that's the bro. I don't throw the word bro around like it's
Yeah.
a friend or what, you know? If I
Mhm.
call you bro, it means I love you, bro. That means I'll go to war with you.
Right.
You know, if,
Right.
if we're on the front lines, I'm standing there with you.
Yep.
So I think in knowing what is required of you as a brother, it's your responsibility as a best friend to call your friends out. What type of brother would I be to make excuses for you? So if we're progressing, me and Dips, we got this going on, and you're doing something over here, I'm not gonna say, well, that's just how Jeff is, man. That's just how J.O. is. You know, he's gonna, you know, that's still the bro, man. I love the bro. No, man, it's like, look, we're progressing, and you're gonna get with it, or we're just not gonna hang like we used to. And that happened. There was a period where we had literally stopped hanging out with Jeff for that very reason.
Jesus.
To the point where Jeff was hitting us up like, "Hey, Cam, what you doing? I'm with Roy at the mall. Y'all didn't come get me."
I wanted that. I wanted to fight y'all so
Yeah.
bad. I was like, man, we go ahead and run through real quick so we can line it up.
exactly. So I think it's accountability.
But what about those dark periods? Like, can you take, because you made the statement about Nipsey talking about, you know, circle got smaller, everybody can't go. Okay, what do you say to somebody? What do y'all say to somebody who you may have been friends with them for 20 plus years, 15 plus years, or you grew up with them, but who you're wanting to become and who they're choosing to be don't match up?
So I think one thing that people don't realize or are scared to realize, it's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to outgrow people.
Hold on.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the years or the lineage we've been friends or just because we've been friends since we're 12 years old doesn't mean you got to be in my life the rest of my life.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
It's okay to outgrow people. And I think you have to tell people that. You have to call people out on their BS and you have to let them know, look, I'm not who I was at 18 years old. Bro, I'm 35 years old. I got plans for businesses. I got plans for my family. You still can't be running around out here reckless, bro.
Yeah.
So you have to contribute to my life and be a benefit or you're a liability. And if you're a liability, bro, you got to go. And I think that's the key is you have to be able to categorize people. What are you bringing into my life? Because if you're in my life, whether I talk to you daily or I talk to you once a year, you're contributing something. And you got to figure out what that person is contributing.
Are you an asset or are you a liability?
That's it.
Because
that's what it comes down to.
And if God has to teach that friend something and you're not able to detach yourself, let's say you're giving them money all the time and they need to learn how to not waste money and there's a lesson they need to learn, but you're always helping them, then God gonna dip into your pockets because he's like, yo, you keeping me from helping them learn what they need to learn, so I'm gonna take your money away so you can't even help them. So it's like you gotta detach to let God do what he does so that they can learn and become the person that they want to be. But Jeff, I want to ask you a quick question before we move forward from this topic. Because I know when I go away, I'm working. Like, for example, like I remember like working on my plyometrics, lifting the weights. And I was I'm gonna come back.
I'm about to pop out.
I saw Jeff. I was like, oh, I'm about to dunk on him.
That's the most disrespectful moment of our friendship, bro.
24-hour fitness. I said, oh, he don't know. I got a 32 now. I turned the corner. He gave me a look like.
Wait, the load up was something serious. It was like slow motion. My man had the ball on the outside. He was on the corner, and I'm standing right by the post, and I'm looking. Dips turned the corner, had this look on his eye like
it's happening.
This
you
is
about
happening.
To get it.
I'm dreading about this.
And I look, and then I'm like, relax, and I look, my eyes get big, like, and I saw him load up, and he came up. I said, oh no. So I elevated up with him, and he didn't get it, and then when he didn't get it, he looked at me, ran on us like, yeah.
I'm coming back.
Yeah. I'm not here. I said, oh, the level of disrespect.
So what are you doing in your preparation time away from the bros until you come back to the bros?
Yeah.
Like what, and how does that feel?
Yeah.
Because that time hurts.
Yeah.
That time hurts because you're lonely, you know what I'm saying? And then we don't just resonate with other people. And a lot of people don't have the values we do. So, and we ain't just gonna be jumping in different friend groups like most people do. You know, we go put our head down, and you know, that time of doing your 40 days and 40 nights alone, like how does that feel? And like, how do you get through that?
When people talk about success, we always highlight the sexy part. And I'm not even talking grind, hustle. I don't believe in grind and hustle. Dips, we probably, but for me personally, nowhere in the Bible do you see the words grind and hustle. In the Bible, you see faithfulness and consistency. And so for me, when I'm in a place of solitude, I'll even look at the life of Jesus. Jesus, after he did every major miracle, go ahead and look in your Bible. It says he retreated for a time away to go spend time with God, to go pray. And so he had to recharge and rebuild himself, because when you're constantly giving of yourself, you get depleted. And what happens is we constantly get to a place where we're giving, that we're so depleted that we're not even giving out anything good, right? And so that's one side of going away. But the other side of going away for me was me recognizing, okay, I got to dial in with Jeff because I lost myself somewhere along the way. And being an identity and an alignment coach, when I'm dealing with, regardless of other people, but me for myself, I need that moment to ask myself, yo, where are you at in your alignment? And you hear me say it all the time. I got it from Uncle TD. He says your downtime is your prep time. And I remember those moments of solitude. Everybody wants to be great, but the light is hot. Woo, right? Like, so everybody wants the stage. And I had this thing that you have to be one of the was the hardest prayer that I've ever prayed, and I still pray. My prayer has been, God, hide me until it's my time.
you said something one time
That's hard.
that I'll never forget. At the gold mine, in your parents' living room. This is before the churches. This is before the hundreds and thousands of people. When you were just, it's like 5 of us in a room, but you were preaching like there was 10,000 of us.
Yeah.
And you said something where you said people don't comprehend the struggle and knowing how difficult it is to be anointed but not yet appointed.
Boy.
Anointed, bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
But that there's nothing worse than knowing that you're called for greatness and knowing that God's placed an anointing on your life.
Mhm.
You're anointed, but you're not yet appointed.
It's not your time yet.
Yeah, it's not your time yet, and it's especially our generation.
Come on.
And I was gonna put a
We want
post
quick
up
fix. We
like,
want
yeah,
it now.
yeah, we want it right now. But I was gonna put something up that a word came to me called stagerism. Not plagiarism, but stagerism. It's when you're trying to steal somebody else's stage that you're not prepared for yet.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to pretend like I got this car. I want to pretend like this, but you don't understand that each stage comes with a plague.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of us who got this stage was plagued with sleepless nights. I was plagued with animosity. I was plagued with tension. I was plagued with nights of loneliness, plagued with nights of death. So I was around the house. Y'all, they like, we talk about it. I was recycling trash. I was digging through trash cans in a suit jacket to provide for Nadia and Jaden, using t-shirts for diapers. But while I was doing it, I was practicing my preaching. I was practicing my speaking for Fortune 5. Nadia would come into the room sometime like, hey, who up here? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But she's like, who you talking to? And I said, I'm talking to the thousands. And I was looking in the mirror, or I was cleaning. And so the greatest gift that God gave me was for me to pray the prayer, God, hide me until it's my time. And even like David, he was faithful on the backside of the mountain before he could be faithful on the throne. And so when we talk about moments of solitude, it's, can you still be the same person and bring that same energy when you're talking to 2 people,
Right.
when you're giving a presentation to nobody, when you're dressing for success and you're getting turned down? Can you bring that same energy as you would if you were a CEO? You can't wait until you get the opportunity to become the opportunity.
And there's a struggle when you know where you're going, but you're not there yet. And at the beginning of the podcast, you said something that's been said on my heart the entire podcast. Is you said, I'm not a finished product yet. But you said it like as a joke. We were just kind of bantering. You're like, I ain't finished product yet. And I took that, and we were recording, so I didn't type it in my phone, but I've been running in the back of my head because I don't want to forget it. Because when we're not a finished product yet, that part in the journey is hard, because other people see that you're not a finished product, but you're talking like you're a finished product, and you have faith like you're a finished product. And even though we look at an orange tree, if you looked at a seed to that tree, you can't see not an orange in that tree at
come
all,
on,
but
Dibs.
you know in that seed
Come on.
is the entire orange tree.
Boy.
But how do you get through that? Like, how do you, and we've all been there, and you're constantly going through it, because we got goals to do more and go do more. How do you get through that?
Well, I'm gonna toss that to kill him because look here, you were in a place where you were believing and hoping for something, and you didn't see the outcome of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, talk, bruh, like, go, yeah.
I don't know. I always tell people that I still don't know, you know, and I make myself available through a kidney foundation where I coach people who are in a situation that I was once in, because it's hard to remain faithful and believe something exists that you don't see.
Wait, hold on. Tell them what, because some people are watching it, they don't even know.
Yeah.
Like what when you say
Transpired.
that, yeah, kidney, what happened?
Yeah. So 28 years old, in what I thought was my prime. And I was, I thought well on my way to achieving goals. Crazy opportunities were coming my way. I thought I was in the right relationship at the time, and so much was transpiring at one time that I remember literally praying to God and asking him to show me where I needed to be. And I remember specifically in my prayer, I said, God, there's so much going on right now. that I feel like I don't have time to sit down and figure things out. When I tell you 2 days later, I was on my butt in the hospital for 10 days, bro.
2 days?
2 days later
I
from
didn't know
that
it was
prayer.
2 days,
2
bro.
days later,
Be
bro.
careful what you pray.
Pray.
So as an ongoing joke, I always tell people, like you just said, God has a sense of humor. You got to be careful what you ask him for, because he's going to give you the answer, but it may not be in that form you were hoping for.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Now,
birthday minutes right there.
I wanted an answer from God, but I could have did without the kidney disease for 7 years. You feel me?
right.
But
How many years?
It was 6.5, almost 7 years. So mind you, 28 years old, I got transplanted at 33. So when I tell you that, you go into a doctor and they're telling you kidney disease is the number 9 leading cause of death in the U.S. That's what they're telling you your first appointment, right? You're going to learn about this disease you know nothing about. And they tell you, okay, so how do I beat it? Well, the only way to overcome it is to get this organ transplant. The state of California is a 10 to 15 year wait to get a transplant. The crazy thing is that while you're on dialysis, your body is literally deteriorating.
So when you say dialysis, you explain that to me. What dialysis is.
Best way I can explain it is picture a mini fridge. It's about the size of a mini fridge. You're sitting in a recliner. You have 2 needles that they place in your arm. I have scars down my arm from where my shunt used to be. One of those large needles has a tube that's taking the blood out of your body. It's going into this refrigerator-looking machine that's filtering and cleaning the blood. And the other tube is the blood comes back through, and that other needle's putting the blood back in your body. So you're going through what the kidneys are supposed to do for you in a 24-hour period. You're doing it in 4 hours. So this machine has your blood flowing so quick that you're literally sitting there lifeless because your blood is just getting taken in and out of your body.
Yeah.
So it's a 4-hour session. You do it 3 days a week. When I tell you that you're a zombie when you come out of there, you can't eat. You have nausea. You're physically fatigued, migraines. It's the worst feeling that I can ever try to describe to anybody. So when they're telling you you have to go through this for 10 to 15 years until you can get this kidney transplant. The other thing is that there's always the stuff behind the scenes a lot of people don't know about. And a lot of people try to realize or try to understand, why is it that after being on dialysis for so long, I can't pass the physical examination to be deemed healthy enough to get the transplant? Yeah. It's because this machine has been beating you up for the last 7, 8, 10 years because your heart had to work so hard during these treatments. Now your heart is enlarged. If you have an enlarged heart, they won't put you under anesthesia to get the transplant. So a lot of people die on this waiting list. And when I tell you that you literally have nothing in those moments but your faith, because everything you thought you had going on at one point in time is no longer there, right? And this thing, especially with men, we take pride in our appearance. We take pride in the way we look. You know, when we walk into a room, we take pride in the way our clothes fit and the way we smell. And when and people say, "Oh, he's a good-looking guy, he's a handsome guy." When that changes, that does something mentally to you, and it's a very tough situation to look in the mirror and not even like recognize who you are. So I say all that because I asked God to show me who I am. 28 years old, I'm trying to figure life out. Do I want to do A? Don't want to do B? I got these options. You know, you always got these options that you know aren't the best options, but you think it's the fast option. And I remember literally praying like, God, show me who I am. Life is so crazy and so fast right now. I need to figure things out. Well, when I tell you he sat me on my butt for 8 years to figure these things out, to not have a relationship for 8 years, to read probably hundreds of books in those 8 years on self-development.
So you had no boo thing,
nothing.
8 years, you're going through it. It's just you, these books. I mean, obviously you have family around.
Of course.
But
my family's the reason I got through it. And again, because if you remember a little while ago, I said that you have to have people in your life that can remind you who you are when you don't remember, right? Or when you can't, or when you don't feel like the person you tell yourself that you are. It was my family, it was my close friends, it was my brothers, that when I'm sitting there and I done lost 75 pounds from this disease and I'm skinny and I'm frail and I can't do the things I used to do, but the brothers come over and it's like, Cam, man, when you bounce back, the comeback gonna be crazy.
Yeah, man.
You know, bro, when we walk out that hospital and you transplanted, at the time I couldn't see it. because I felt so bad in my situation. I was in that victim mentality, feeling so sorry for myself. There's times where, like, you would almost think not being here would be better than what I'm going through right now, right? But then you have these people that come into your life, and they're constantly reminding you that you're a warrior, you're a fighter. You know, you came to my fundraiser. We're trying to raise these tens of thousands of dollars for transplant. And you said, bro, I've been praying a lot. You know, and I tell you, God is the ultimate doctor, and I'll never forget those words because it lifted me up in those moments. Like, he's right. I'm worrying about things that I can't control. But a big part of it is controlling what you can control, right? I tell my employees at work, we got to control what we can control. There's a lot of things out of our hands. Yeah. But if we can control the things that we can control, we increase our chances. You know? Yeah. So I was a long-winded answer, but
yeah, I remember when it was all happening, and my dad is very, like, he could tell, like, what's going on with me. Like, even when I'm masking it, because I can act and mask things really good. But I remember posting, like, the GoFundMe or whatever, and was saying how we were raising, and Pops was just like, you know, my Pops, like, strolling over. Yeah, dude.
He's really like that, too,
yeah,
by the
dude,
way.
I'll give a few bucks. I'll give some shackle.
Not shackle, though, bro.
But he asked me, he was like, you know, how are you taking it? And then I was just like, I was like, honestly, it's bothering me. Like, to see my friend like that, I was like, you know, like sometimes I don't want to be around because I didn't want to see you like that. Like, it was really bothering me. And what made me kind of go from not wanting to see you like that to, like, really wanting to help is when he was like, you don't want to see him like that. So, like, imagine what he's going through, actually going through it. And when he said that, I was just like, and my dad knows me. He hit me with that sentence, and he was like, something to think about. And then we just, like, kept working out. And he knew what he did. He knew, he knew, okay, got him. Like, flipped his mind. I was like, okay, yeah, like, we got to get more involved. We got to apart. Like, we got to figure out some stuff out. And, like, you're doing the hardest part. So that was, in essence, selfish for me to be like, I don't want to see my bro like that.
You know what's crazy, too, is, like, I was just sitting here thinking about that. And even with J.O.'s situation, what you went through, bro, I think when you love somebody, you have a responsibility to make sure they learn from your experiences and your lessons so that they don't have to go through it in life. I remember when you became incarcerated, Jeff had his first hearing for trial, and I think it was maybe Pops that called me. He gave me the information, and the first thing that came to my mind was like, I'm not going. There's no way I can see my brother come out in shackles. And that's exactly how he came out, was shackled up, ankles, arms. I remember sitting there like just numb, you know, because this is the guy that I grew up with, running around with, played sports with, and here my brother is coming out shackled up. And I say that because although that was his situation and he was the one incarcerated, he taught me a life lesson. I didn't have to be incarcerated to learn that lesson. And what I realized was seeing what my brother is going through and away from the love of his life and away from his family, I would never put myself in that situation to ever be taken away from the people I love. And I feel that's why I try to give back so much time to not just my loved ones, but people who are experiencing the same thing. Because when I have friends now who are overweight, I hear people say things like, oh, I don't drink water, all like a soda and shit. I'm like, listen.
Go ahead.
Listen. Come on. I'm like, listen. Go home and Google what dialysis is. Because most people end up on dialysis from diabetes. So I tell people when they're like, oh, I went to the doctor, I'm pre-diabetic. I'm going to take some pills. Bro, you're 32. What do you mean you're pre-diabetic?
Right.
Right? So it's like, don't end up on dialysis to learn that lesson. So I think, and just in friendships and relationships, as we're talking about responsibilities that come along with those titles, you know, don't throw the words around loosely and take your position with some seriousness. You know, teach others around you from your life experiences and from the things that you cried about at night to keep them from having to cry over them.
So with that being said, like, you and I have had our stuff and we've gone through a lot. And one of the consistencies in our lives was dips. And I think out of both of us, like, Dips was pretty much the one who was like, yo, I'm on this track. EMT, like straight out, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we knew if we was gonna be reckless, at least we had somebody to save our life, like, you know. But just let me ask you, man, because your path was different. We all had breaking moments, but you made a massive transition. You spoke on it earlier, like you didn't have all the tools that everybody else did. So, bro, in your journey, what was something that you learned in your transition, you know, in the transitioning phase? And then the other question is how do you transition when you feel like you don't have all the right tools or equipment or, you know, the way of being that you need to transition where you
Before you even answer that, I'm going to say this real quick. And I'll say this wholeheartedly because I believe in giving your loved ones their flowers.
100%.
Dips is the hardest working, most consistent person I have ever met in my life.
100%.
When I tell you this dude would be on a respirator still working out in the gym, that would be Roy.
Gotta get in there.
So
100%.
100%. So I say that because I know that has a lot to do with who you are and the position you're in today.
I mean, you just came back from Jordan, bro. You was speaking out
Yeah.
there in Jordan. Did it
Right.
two
Two days in
2
Jordan.
days, bro.
Dude popped up like he went to San Francisco and came back. Like, bro went to the Middle East. It was back in 48 hours. Like, I had to go out there and talk
man,
real
just
quick.
Speak to some business leaders.
But I say that because we're not born with consistency, you know, and I always kind of wondered that because we always say, like, you know, you are who you hang with, but you and I weren't the most consistent.
Nah, that was my
you know,
inconsistency.
and I think if anything, we learned that from you. So how it's important to be role models for your friends, and you became that for us in a lot of different ways. But what got you to that point? Where'd you get that from?
Well, kind of two things. I wasn't blessed with like gifts physically. I found out later that I'm blessed. I could take hard to explain ideas and make them simple.
Right.
But like Jeff could jump high, could run fast, all the gifts.
Right.
I didn't have none of those. I had to work for them. I was like, so I started reading books, and I'm like, hey, yo, they teach you how to jump higher in these books? let me read this.
Right.
Okay. And so just knowing that the more knowledgeable I became, and if I consistently worked on something for years and I would see the results guaranteed. And I learned that from my dad, because my dad, again, I got really good at basketball later, but I was terrible when I was a kid. And my dad would take me out every day, left hand layups, right hand layups, hundreds and hundreds of layups, hundreds of shots. And then I got better than all the kids. Then I realized, like, oh, it's them nights outside.
There's
at the
something
park.
to this hard work.
Yeah, and that taught me. And so anytime I decided I wanted to be good at something, I do well in 5-10 year timelines, because I'm like, oh, I could do that every day. You know, I went to Jeff and Justin Sapp. Shout out Jay Sapp.
Yeah, shout out to Jay Sapp.
And I was like, yo, what do you do to learn to speak? You know, because I wanted to be a speaker. And Justin was like, yeah, I would do you know, automyopia in the mirror. I'm like, oh, okay. Every day for like 2 years I did that. And, you know, I never really told nobody. Jeff was like, oh, hey dog, I had all these great speakers, but if you can't tell a story, man, you ain't no good speaker. You gotta learn how to tell a story.
Storytelling, yeah.
Top 5 books on telling the story.
Yeah.
And then I would model people that I looked up to. Like, the 2 best speakers in the world are Uncle T.D. Jakes,
hands down,
and then Jeff Osborne.
Hands down. Hands
down. We used to be at the gold mine, and I'll take mental notes. I'm watching.
Yeah.
That's how he moved. That's how he tell a story. Oh, look how he paused right there. Ooh, okay. And then I just implemented it, and I would take notes. And at the end of the day, I just realized, like, I'll do the mundane, boring things every day. And
the work people aren't willing to do.
And I'm always thinking, like, can't wait to get under the lights.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I don't want to be under the lights until I'm ready, but I'm always confident under the lights because I knew I did months.
You did your homework.
Whoa, wait. Say that one. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait, say
Stuck
that
one in there real smooth, but I'm going to slide out there. No, hold up, bro.
I'm confident under the lights because what?
Because I did it with the lights off in the dark.
For months.
For months.
Years.
I've done it hundreds of
years,
times.
bro. Because I remember Roy hit me up one day. He was like, hey, yo, bro, I'm about to go to this conference. I'm like, yeah, hit me when you get back, bro. I got stuff to do, right? So, bro hit me like a couple days later. I'm like, hey, bro, how was it? He was like, man, it changed my life. I met Arnold Schwarzenegger, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, you went where? Like, how come? What conference was this, right? So then I'm like, bro, that's crazy. And then he started talking about, yeah, man, I'm gonna be an author and write books. I was like, now hold up, dog. You my boy and all, bro. You my boy. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a public speaker, right? So I'm like, all right, like I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay,
Yeah.
right? I'm your biggest fan, bro. But I remember we we'd hang out at the apartment. We see books on public speaking. I see him writing. I used to go to his townhome in Riverside, and I would take my camera over there. It's just me and him in the room, and I would set the camera up and sit on the couch, and Roy just be over there talking, like there's an audience. Ain't nobody in there, bro. Ain't nobody in there.
I put a whiteboard on the wall.
Yeah, like he teaching. Ain't nobody learning nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Like he just, bro, just talking, right? But what's crazy is that he did this for years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. And I'm thinking back in my mind, like, it's my bro, I'm gonna support him regardless. But I'm thinking, bro, still ain't got no gigs. You're talking about he about to be a speaker for 10 years, right?
Your schedule looking real life.
Real life.
Yeah.
I ain't got
So
nothing.
one day, bro hit me up. He was like, hey, I'm about to speak. I want you and the family to come check me out. I'm like, bro, we there. Let me know. He's like, yeah, it's in the projects in Watchdog. What?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
When I tell you this man had us in the projects in Watts.
Like
I remember out of BMW.
in the downs. Like like,
you
bro,
in the
them.
down?
Like in them.
Yes.
Bro.
So when I tell you, like, I pulled up in my BMW, it's like all the kids are outside looking, right?
They about to roll you.
Bro.
12-year-old kids.
12-year-old kids outside with the function. This LAP officer was like, hey, that's your car? I was like, yeah, don't park right there. Go park. Go down. For real? He was like, it's not going to be here when you
It's
come
real.
out.
It's real.
But,
yeah.
but when I tell you that the bro killed it, and that was like a proud dad watching his only son who made it moment, you know, where I'm just like, bro, I saw the 15 years of work come out of this man in Watts, in the rec center, in the projects. And I'm just like, okay, the bro's destined for greatness for sure. And yeah, just to tie it all together, that was just that moment where I realized he taught me that lesson. Because like I said, we weren't doing it. But through his actions, he taught us that lesson, like inadvertently, right? We didn't have to go ask him for the advice, but through his actions, he was putting that work out there and every day for us. But I was just thinking about something sitting here, and it's kind of crazy real quick. But I remember there was a point in my life where I just became really introverted and like withdrawn. I was like this quiet person. And it was during that time too when I was sick, but maybe even a little before that. And again, I think it was just that prayer that I was praying. Just I wanted to figure things out. You know, I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I knew I had a purpose. I knew I was different, but I didn't know where I was supposed to be. You know, at an early age, though, I think I figured out I wanted to do something with people, something with service to others, just didn't know what. But I remember in those times when I was acknowledging my own faults from seeing actions in others where I realized I needed to step my game up. This man works a room better than anyone I've ever met in my life.
Ever.
I've been around CEOs of airports, directors of federal agencies. Nobody knows how to work a room, light up a room with energy better than you.
Man.
Hands down, bro. So when I tell you, since we were 16, 17, I was taking notes on that. And
I
then
take notes on it too.
when I talk about just hard work and discipline and making just, you know, without a time frame, it's just a goal or it's just a dream, right? You got to put that time frame on it, take some type of action to make it come to fruition. And I remember watching this man's discipline and working at the same thing day in and day out and acknowledging what he wasn't the best at, but saying, I'm going to be the best at it. Oh, I'm weak at it now. I'm going to be the best in the world at it. So I say all that because I was taking notes from you guys, developing my resume and my character. And Dips, I don't even know if you know this. I might blow your mind with this right now. So when I was 20 years old, I had this crazy idea that I was going to be this kid. I hung around with a bunch of knuckleheads. I was going to go into law enforcement.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And I told the bros, I'm going to start applying for these law enforcement agencies, all these different things. At that time, I was applying, and they were like, yo, you're a good kid. You got life experience, but you don't have enough life experience. You got to have something in a public safety resume. Sometime, you know, go work security for a couple years, go do something and come back.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, what? I don't got no connections. I just want to do this, right?
Yeah.
I remember being like 19, 20. My man here, my brother was like, yo, bro, mom is a public safety supervisor at these colleges. I'm going to tell her you want to be a cop. I'm like, all right, bet, bro. His mom, Mama Rolene, called me and said, Roy said, you want to get in this line of work? Go on this website, fill this app out, let me know when you do. Mom got me into the Claremont colleges. I spent 7 years at the Claremont colleges. I left the Claremont colleges. I went from there to a director position at Snapchat. I was at Snapchat for X amount of years, helping implement their in-house public safety department. I went from Snapchat to overseeing security public safety operations at a local international airport now. I'm 17 years in my career. How'd I get my career? My brother's sitting right here next to me. So when I tell you guys who you have in your circle is important, because unintentionally, your friends will set you up for success.
Boy,
My brother was just trying to help me out. Bro, need a job. He wants some experience. Let me talk to mom. 17 years later, I'm in the position I am now, sitting at tables with CEOs and VPs and port directors of federal agencies because of a position my brother put me in at 19 years old.
And you crushed it. You moved up to sergeant. Like, you took the steps, went up to sergeant, and like really learned how to do. You know, usually people just become an officer and that's it. Like, you learned how to run, how to set up, how to really do. You know, you mastered it.
You know, it goes back to also, I think that friendly competitiveness. I knew my brother went to his mom, who didn't know me that well outside the house, and vouched for me. He said, Mom, Cam wants to do this. He can do it. She went to her people and put her name out there for me. You know, so it was a pride thing, but it was like I also knew my family put me in this position. Now I got to wear the family name on my back.
Yeah.
See, dude,
and I got to shine out. You know what I mean?
But I think that was part of the big transition when we talk about bros to men is sometimes when you, like when you're in a position, you got to have borrowed faith. Right? And it's like there are moments where I had to borrow faith from you guys, and you guys borrowed faith from me, and likewise in this whole circle, because we didn't have the faith ourselves. And that was borrowed faith. Dips put his faith on the line for you, and you held on to that faith, and you borrowed that faith when you were like, dude, I don't even know how I'm going to do it. Same thing with Dips. When you made that statement to me, it changed my life forever. And so even on that borrowed faith tip, I wanted to touch on that. But, you know, Cam, one of the things I learned about you in transition that was so powerful that I've watched you is that you never look like what you were going through.
Ever.
And
he's a man. Like, he's the most manliest man I've ever met in my life. Never, not once in my life, complained about anything.
Not
one.
Not in addition to that, it was like, bro, I'm gonna say it again. You never looked like what you were going through, and I feel like so many times in our transitions, if we're in a rough area or a rough season of our lives, we end up allowing ourselves to look like what we're going through. I'm just, my relationship just left me, and you know what, they hurt me, and and they did this and that, or I don't have any money, but every time I saw you, Cam, you were dressed for success, even though you didn't even feel like it. Bro, I remember at your fundraiser, bro, you didn't even fit in your clothes.
Yeah.
You were that thin, Cam. Like, bro, and I remember my kids, they were like, Daddy, why does Uncle Cam look like that? And, bro, I had to put on the biggest smile, but I was dying.
Yeah.
But even in that moment, Cam, you never looked like what you were going through. And watching you transition to where you are in life, there's something that I live by, and I don't care, I'll go to the grave with this, is there is no fake it till you make it. Either you are or you aren't. You're just waiting for the results to show.
Facts.
Waiting for your time,
You waiting for it. And so, bro, you would be in a suit, and I'd be like, bro, where you going? Like, you
go get my medication, bro.
Right, you get your medication, Cam, in a suit more expensive than mine, and I'm standing there speaking in front of thousands of people. Like, but you taught me that, Cam, and so in the moments and pockets where I didn't have for my family, in pockets where I wasn't known and I felt like I wanted to quit. On one end, I heard you saying in my ear, like, yo, either you're going to be somebody great or you're going to be nothing at all. And the other one, I hear you saying to me, like, what's your excuse? You know, you got to show up every day. You got to show up with how you look. And so I've learned that in transition from you guys as my brothers. And Cam, you got king of consistency, and you got you who you never looked like what you were going through. And you were that image and that epitome of strength in that moment of your transition. And so, and then with me and having faith, I believe I got a gift of faith. Like I will faith it through. You know what I'm saying? And believe God for the impossible. I think all of those things added to us becoming who we are and really taking on the transition of bros to men. And so we talked on so many different things, but if we had to leave them with something that was like, you had to give them a nugget, right? Everybody's watching right now. They want that golden nugget. I mean, we've been dropping gems all day long. I mean, all these are tweetable. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead,
Instagram, yeah, go ahead. But you know, Cam, what would you say in the master of transition? What would somebody have to master in their transition season for them to see it through? Some real brief.
I would just say, know when you're at a stop and not your final destination. You know, the reason why I was able to get up every day and look like more than what I was going through is because I knew at some point I was going to be in the right environment for those clothes I had on. So I had some stops along the way, but I never lost sight of where I was headed.
That final destination.
I would say just keep your eyes on that future vision, that future picture, because what you're preparing to be in that future is what's going to dictate your habits today and what you're going to do now. And so everything I do now, from what I eat, from what I watch, to what I read, to who I hang with, is consistent with who I see myself in that future. And just know that and have faith that you are anointed. You're not yet appointed, but the appointing is going to happen. And just like at the end of the day, they're going to have to see you. That's it. You're going to have to see me.
I love that. I love
What
that.
you got for him, bro?
Oh, man. I feel like when you're on your transition and when you're in your journey of becoming, the biggest lesson that I will say is that you don't create your final outcome. You step into what God already created. And that was one of the big, it's almost like Finding Nemo. You know, the dad was out there swimming, and then there was that little stream, that PCH, I think they called it, and the turtles were to the left. And so he was struggling trying to get to his end destination. And then when he popped in the stream, the turtles were like, bro, what's up, dude? And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, just go with the flow. And he was like, what? And so when he was in the stream, he didn't have to struggle. But when he was outside of that flow was when the struggle happened. And so just know that God has a flow for your life.
That's it.
And when you spend time with the creator of your day, he's going to put you in that
Come on.
flow where you can just flow and go.
That's it.
And master that transition, man.
Flow, transition.
Man, well, we appreciate everyone rocking with us. First episode, Bros to Men.
Bros to Men.
We're going to make this a thing, man.
There it is.
There it
Loving
is.
on y'all.
Love y'all.
Much love.
Just make sure whatever you're doing out there, you're growing in the process. Peace.